everyone. So if you've been on my channel for any type of day or for a while, or just in general, or recently, I think recently actually works, to be honest, you would know that I don't talk pretty negatively on this channel towards most movies, unless I have to, with a ranking or something. And yeah, I'm normally that pretentious guy that preaches about movies he absolutely loves and has absolutely no friends. I used to rant a lot in my old channel, but we don't talk about that. My point being is that I don't talk that negatively, and I'm not going in that direction, but I decided to make this a series because there are some movies out there that I just don't understand why people like them, and I feel like I should get my opinion out there about them. But yeah, with that said, let's just get into this. Also, just as a side note, these won't be in any order. These are just movies I find overrated. Oh boy, here we go. Now, I already have something against this movie, considering I was on such a good movie streak. I log every movie I watch on Letterboxd, guys, and if you looked at the movies I was watching masterpieces. I was watching great movies. I didn't watch a bad movie for 2 weeks. And then I watched this movie, and it ruined everything. But yeah, regardless of that, this is one of my friends in the critic community's favorite, I think his favorite movie, actually, and it's just kind of sad, because I don't like bashing people's favorite movies, but I really was not a fan of this movie at all. It was so boring and utterly dragged out that I really just didn't care at all. It's 30 minutes of the movie, it felt like that at least, that they were just talking, and I wouldn't mind that if I actually cared about these characters and they were actually interesting, but I don't care about them. I don't know how long exactly it was, I didn't check, but it felt like 50 minutes. It felt like a lot of the movie, and it dragged on for so long. I just wanted it to end already before the movie even got going. It angered me, and I would be intrigued if I actually cared about these characters, but when they died, I'm like, nope, I don't care. Nope, I don't care. You can go die. You can go die. I didn't even care if Ash died. He's bland as rice cakes as the rest. None of them are interesting, and I mean none of them. And this would be redeemable if it was cheesy and goofy and fun, but this movie wasn't really that creative and cheesy and goofy. I think this was Sam Raimi's first feature-length film, so you can tell he was trying to find his footing, and people say this is great. It is a really high score on RT, which I know, but I agree with RT with a good amount of stuff, actually, so yeah, that's a shocker. And it didn't have much of value. I felt like when I went out of the film, this, I watched this for absolutely no reason. I'm not saying it needs all these deep themes, but either, in my opinion, you should try to build up the characters, make me care about what's going on, or make it a goofy, fun time. It was neither of those for me. I can't deny the cinematography is phenomenal. I mean, maybe not phenomenal, but it's really good cinematography. And it's very impressive what it's able to do with that at a low budget. And the practical effects are pretty great, actually. And I mean, it's a lot. I guess it's Carnage Candy, but I wouldn't really count that as a point because that doesn't count the technicalities of the movie at all, or my enjoyment really, because I wasn't really enjoying myself when watching this movie. I'm really sorry that I'm going really harsh on this film. I didn't want to. I really wanted to love this movie, guys. I really gave it a chance. I was so excited for this movie for about, 2 or 3 years whenever I discovered it. And I knew about it. I'm like, yes, I want to watch this movie. And when I watched it, I was so excited. I was so happy. And my soul was crushed. I really hope the sequel is better if I ever end up watching it. I hope it's a good movie, because I really don't like this movie at all. Yes, film from the 52-week film challenge. This will not be the last of it. I can tell you that much. But the thing is with it is, let's just do this. I was expecting to love this movie. I was gonna watch it for my 2020 favorite film from each month video. I just didn't have time, with the Trial of Chicago 7, that's why I haven't seen it yet, is because I haven't had the time to, because I've been too busy with other projects and school and blah blah, you get the idea. My point is, I was excited for this movie, and when I finally watched it, I was so disappointed, because I was expecting something so articulate and something so meaningful. It just resulted in me not liking this movie at all. This movie is kind of boring, kind of interesting for the first half, and then afterwards it's just boring for the last half of the movie, and it's over 2 hours and 12 minutes, and honestly, it feels so indulgent. It's one of the most self-indulgent movies I've ever watched, because it thinks it's this articulate and great movie, when in reality, it doesn't really have much to say. It's just kind of events that happen, and it doesn't feel like there's much meaning. It tries to preach over your head with these messages and themes, and I didn't get what it was trying to do. It tries so hard to say something, but I don't understand. What is this? Is it about time? Is it about meaning? Or is that what you're trying to go for here? Because if so, I don't really see those themes being conveyed that much, because almost nothing happens in this movie. Like, I'm not even joking. I guess to summarize it, they meet their parents. They're in the car. They drive. They meet their parents. They drive for like the next 10 minutes or so, which it was so I couldn't get through it. And then they go to this ice cream place to get ice cream, and then they end up getting in this snowstorm, and they get lost, and then they end up going into like this school, I guess. And then there's this weird ballerina thing that I don't understand. I don't get what's going on. Like, I want to... Like, and the thing is, there's great movies that can have symbolic meaning, like 2001. That has great symbolism and meaning for what it's trying to say. There's things in there that I can appreciate, and I'm not that bored with 2001 when I watched it. But with this movie, I was so bored. There was nothing interesting, whether you talk about this, like, the cinematography. It was good, I guess, but it wasn't enough to keep me captivated. There wasn't really anything that kept me captivated, to be honest. I will say it was interesting to see you go through the main character's mind, but I just wasn't having a fun time. I didn't understand. It was trying to preach about things that just didn't make sense. And this movie's just confusing, and it's so boring. I will never watch it again. I don't even like thinking about it. See what I did there? That wasn't funny. But I don't get why people like this movie so much. It really didn't work for me at all. Oh boy, here we go. Now this is probably, I guess, out of the two I've mentioned, or the three I've mentioned, I guess this is the one that isn't as highly praised as the other two. But I think with this movie is like the fact that, I don't know, it's still pretty overrated, and this isn't in an order. So, with that said, I did, like a lot of these, I really wanted to like this one, but I don't think I wanted to like it as much as the other two, because those seem more like my thing. And with this movie, it's the definition of pretentious, or at least one of the many definitions, because it is so it thinks it's better than what it actually is. It thinks it's on a higher level than what it really is, because it tries to have it tries to be this deep movie with these interesting concepts, when in reality, it's just a fun movie with a good concept. That's the surface level it goes on. It's so cheesy, and it tries so hard to be deep that it's kind of funny. Yeah, I don't know, because let's be honest, I don't think the performances are very top notch. I think we can mostly agree on that. The performances aren't perfection or anything, not even good, and they're really cheesy. It's a cheesy movie. The dialogue is cheesy, but the movie doesn't know that. The Wachowskis don't seem to know that. And they try to make it so deep and fail, because it just doesn't work, because they don't understand that it's just, with the dialogue and the characters, it's too cheesy for you to try to make it a deep movie. And as reality, even though it seems like they tried to make it deep, it wasn't deep at all. And the thing is, it's this whole journey about this guy becoming the Matrix and everything. I didn't care for him as a character. Like, I didn't care about his journey or anything. I didn't care about what was going on with him. I just thought, yeah, this isn't interesting enough for me to really care. I don't care about these characters. I don't care about any of these characters. I don't care what happens. It just doesn't work for me. It doesn't land. It just, I don't care about what happens because the characters are really bland. And it's just a movie that really overstays its welcome. And I really am not a fan of movies that are like that. So it just ends up as a film I just didn't enjoy. Also, the Wachowskis are really overdoing it with the visuals in this film, because if you know me, you know I'm all for great visuals and trying your hardest with the cinematography, but sometimes it just comes off as frustrating and annoying. When they do these shots, it's like, can you have the camera stay still for 5 seconds, because it moves too much for my liking. And I'm fine with that, but it just does this. It just feels like they tried so hard to have great visuals when just keep the camera still, guys. You don't need it to be like this, please. Just keep it still for a little bit. And the action sequence is great. The visuals are great, and the action sequences, the action is it's phenomenal. But with it just doesn't know what it really is. And it feels like a movie that's really conflicted on what it's trying to be. And I'm not a fan of movies that are like that, obviously. So I didn't like this movie. Now, I know this movie isn't as overrated as the other ones, considering that Fury Road is the one that's most talked about. But this one also seems very overrated, especially when a lot of people seem to still really like this movie regardless. And did I like it? Nope. This movie's so boring. I really wasn't intrigued. Out of all of the ones I watched, this was the one I was least interested in. I was on my phone probably a decent amount of it, but it should be able to keep my attention, so I don't really blame that on myself. I was paying attention to these other movies. I was paying attention to Evil Dead more than it was to this, because this movie is just so uninteresting. Even if it's better than Evil Dead, it's just nothing really interesting happens when it comes to. It's a dystopian movie, but it doesn't explore anything that's going on in the dystopian world. There's nothing interesting when it comes to that. There's nothing, just because it's a dystopian movie about like, it's a dystopian movie that takes place in the future. But with a dystopian movie, we have to explore the world more. Why are things like this? Why is this way? What is society like? It doesn't do that. It barely even feels like a dystopian movie by this bland set designs and just everything in general that doesn't make this film at all an interesting dystopian film. Mad Max as a character, I felt way too disconnected to be honest, and he was still focused on. And I don't know, I felt like there was such a barrier between me and him, and there's this whole revenge thing and you expect me to care. I don't care about Mad Max because I don't know anything about him, so what's the point? The visuals are pretty great, I guess, and the action's still really good, and the acting's fine, I guess. It's not bad. I just really didn't care about anything that happened in this movie. Out of all the movies so far, this is probably the one I have the least to say about, to be honest, because Doctor Strangelove, it's not as memorable as a movie, and there's not really much I can actually say about it that I really hated. It's just there wasn't much I really liked about it. I think with the movie is the fact that I didn't know what to laugh at. I didn't know what I was supposed to laugh at, and I guess maybe I just wasn't into his sense of humor, but I didn't know what I was supposed to take seriously, and what I was like supposed to think was funny. I will say that Doctor Strangelove is hilarious, and that the scenes that he's in it are funny, but I was just confused about what is supposed to be comedic and what wasn't. And I think that's where I kind of just didn't really care for it. So you guys, that's going to be the video. I was going to do more for this, but I realized this is like 15 minutes long, so I think this is a good place where I should just stop. But I will make a part 2 to this, and I might just make this a series, because why not? But yeah, that's going to be it for the video, you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.